Welcome back to Watching Business Morning here on Channels Television. And yes, we are delving into that Ponzi scheme that has seen a lot of Nigerians. I heard there's more of Nigerians and Kenyans shedding tears. At the time, they should be celebrating Easter. I wonder if it's an intentional strategy that we see some of these Ponzi schemes bust when it's a holiday or festive season. But now let's discuss this with Professor Uche Walike, Director, Institute of Capital Market Studies at Nasarawa State University. Prof, good morning. Happy Easter, happy holiday to you. Which one works for you?
Thank you very much. Any compliments of the season?
Yes. So, I mean, I wonder if this Ponzi scheme, they always target festive period. We're in Easter now. Perhaps a lot of people would have been planning and investing and hoping that, oh, they'll have a bountiful Easter celebration. But of course, this is what they face, those who are involved in CIVEX.
Yeah, it shouldn't come as a surprise. Not necessarily festive season, but usually when the economy is experiencing one challenge or the other. You notice we had MMM. MMM was in 2016, and 2016 Nigeria's economy was in a recession. We also had MBA Forex. MBA Forex was around 2020. Recall in 2020, again the economy was in a recession. That was in the heat of the global of the COVID, and now the CIVEX. These have been the major recent number I saw. I showed that we've had over 30 of them Ponzi schemes in place. So yes, festive seasons for understandable reasons. People will want to have more money, and so they fall victims to such schemes.
So that means when there's a downturn in the economy, individuals generally have to be more careful and intentional, before putting their money somewhere. But I guess it's also the responsibility to investigate where you want to put your hard-earned money.
Absolutely, Ini. You see, that is one thing we the public need to understand, that where you have an economy where, for example, the average return on investment is not more than 20% per annum. Okay, and you now find an investment that is promising you 30% every month, 40% every month. Of course, you should that should raise your antenna. Okay, if you look at, even if you take 30% per annum, that translates to 2.5%, in a month. Okay, assuming you even have any such investment, and of course, I can't think of any, right now. So when you now have one that is saying you will get 30% on a monthly basis, or more than that, that should make you cautious as a rational investor. So it all boils down to the lack of investor education, lack of, you can also say, not necessarily financial literacy, but investor education is what is critical here. That people should understand this, because if you understand the risk associated with investing in such schemes, of course you wouldn't do that. In investment generally, we talk about relationship between risk and return. Any investment that has is promising you very high return also has very high risk. So the higher the risk or the higher the return, the higher the risk. And that's why people should also ask questions. You have a promoter of an investment coming to you to say, put your money, you get this huge return in 1 month. The first question to even ask is who are you? Okay, are you registered? Every investment is meant to be registered. every promoter is meant to be registered. Are you registered with the regulator? And regulator in this instance is Securities and Exchange Commission. So that should be the first question that every prospective investor, in quotes, should be asking. So once that investment is not registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission, then the person should run away. Okay. And it is also important, as I said earlier on, for the investor to also ask, what is even your source of income? This money you're going to take from me, how are you going to use it? And that is why you find many of them don't have, you can't assess their financials. They don't have any financials, to even look at. Their operations are largely, opaque. And in such circumstances, the investor should be very, 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 very wary. So first, you try to find out whether the investor is, the investment is registered, the company is registered. You also try to find out who are the people behind the company, who are the promoters, who are the, the directors of the company. And you also try to find out, as I said, their business model. Okay. And I just told you something. You have this economy, for example, where you can't have returns as much as 30% on a month, and somebody is promising you that. So where is that person going to invest that kind of money? To be able to make enough returns to have something for the business and also pay you the 30%, monthly. So what you find that happens is simply the Ponzi arrangement, okay, that has been in place since the days of Charles Ponzi, as far back as 2020, okay, getting money from the new investors and using that to settle the earlier ones. And that's what happened. And that is why most of these schemes rely so much on referrals. They tell you to go and bring, the more people you bring, the more money you make. So that should tell you that there's something wrong with such such an investment.
So would you say that when we look at the level of enlightenment and education in the Nigerian society, would you say perhaps there are ways to simplify this responsibility and obligation of investors or potential investors?
Yes, I think more should be done. I'm aware that the Securities and Exchange Commission in particular and other market regulators, have been, doing, their bits in the area of educating Nigerians. And I'm also aware this SEC in particular has also been issuing several warnings, against, patronizing these, Ponzi schemes. But of course, you are talking about, over 200 million people here. And that is why I think the messaging this time, has to go real down, deep down to the grassroots. Okay. Massive grassroots campaign, should be involved here. Using, religious leaders, using market associations. Okay. And also using, the social media, media like what you're doing now. So that's very important. And in recent time, particularly now that most of these Ponzi schemes are being crypto enabled, okay, tech enabled, okay. So it's very important that this messaging should also focus on social media, because look at the recent case we just witnessed. The crypto bullion exchange, the CBEX, they use much of social media to get their victims, if you like, WhatsApp, Instagram, and so on, including celebrities, including influencers. So the campaign that the kind of campaign I would like to see is also the type that also makes use of these influencers, these celebrities, to warn against patronage of Ponzi schemes. And that's also why I think that there should be a way to also have these influencers, registered by the commission. And I'm happy to note that the Investment and Securities Act of 2025, the new act, has also empowered the commission, to be able to do that, to be able to, deal with Ponzi schemes, to be able to also, including getting this, influencers registered, because part of why these Ponzi schemes too have thrived over time, has also been the issue of, if you like, regulatory gap, vacuum, particularly with respect to, cryptos, the cryptocurrencies. The good news is that right now, Section 26 of the Investment and Securities Act of 2025 has now made it clear that everything about crypto investments is now under the regulatory purview of the Securities and Exchange Commission. That wasn't the case before now. There was no clarity as to who, which regulator should handle that, and a lot of promoters of these schemes, took advantage of that overlap. All right, but now that has been addressed by this law, and I want to believe that that will go a long way to help to, check the menace of or the proliferation of these Ponzi schemes.
All right, thank you so much, Prof. And yes, of course, we've also heard from the Securities and Exchange Commission. So hopefully we'll see better days in dealing with all of this. Thank you, Professor Uche Waleke, Director, Institute of Capital Market Studies at Nasarawa State University, also the President of Capital Market Academics of Nigeria. Thank you so much, Prof.
My pleasure. Thanks, Amy.